We see the prize cards, nothing too relevant. Lee does, of course, play the Latias EX, which you see in the prize cards, deciding to actually not play that Hisuian Heavy Ball, so it's just going to be locked into prize cards for the time being. And on Lucas's side, does have Monkey Dory in the prizes. Again, if these players are trading knockouts back and forth, you know that Adrenabrain ability, it's not going to be too crucial.
Yeah, something I just realized by now, Lee must be the only player in Vancouver playing Dark Energy, but no Monkey Dory. I've been so used to just seeing that Dark Energy slotted into every single deck imaginable, just to have that Monkey Dory in play. And Lee here, just has those Roaring Moons. He is actually a Dark type deck, as we are going to start our top 4 here at the Vancouver Regional Championships. Let's see what these players have in store.
So Lee kicking things off, have to assume, as the Goldengo player, going second, going to be a big advantage. You do not want to allow Roaring Moon to get go second, get that first turn attack, and we're just going to see Squawk and Seize right away. Doesn't even want to play the Trekking Shoes, Wancho. Guess there's no card he'd like to draw into. Doesn't even want to have to, take the risk of maybe getting rid of something like a Professor Sada again.
Yeah, exactly. If you're going to Squawk and Seize anyway, you maybe don't want to fill up your hand, especially after looking at this hand. There is a Professor Sada right there, and the A-Spec too. So 2 big cards discarded right off the bat. And I'm just going to add an extra arrow here. I know it's Lee's favorite, but the Pokemon catchers too. The nice thing is, it's all Goldengos on the field anyway, so there may not be a point to really gust anything up. Maybe unless Lucas benches something like a Pheasantipity, for example. But right now, it's going to be attachment onto the Roaring Moon and pass back to Lucas.
So, of course, checking the deck with that great Pokemon search item, Buddy Poffin. We keep saying it time and time again. Ever since this card was released, it's seen play in pretty much every deck that plays 70 HP Pokemon or less. Grab them, put them onto your bench, and that's that. So Lucas, of course, will grab 2 of those Gimme Gold. They will hit the bench. And now just checking, of course, those energy cards with Energy Search Pro in the deck. That's really, the A-Spec that allows this deck to shine. It just grabs you all of your energy cards. And that's really, the whole combination with this deck. Draw your energies, put them in the discard pile, bring them back, deal big damage, repeat, rinse, repeat. Keep doing it over and over again.
Yeah, the Energy Search Pro has just been such a great conclusion into the Goldengo decks. Not only does it make it so satisfying to just attack with all the colors of the rainbow, but also just being able to thin the deck, trading 1 card for 8 for 8 really unlocked the greatness that is Goldengo. But right now, Arvin looks like it's going to be played. Probably going to grab something like that TM Evolution just to be able to really set up some Goldengos into play. But honestly, hear me out. Maybe if we go for the TM Evolution, then we are still putting 2 prizers into play. That could be kind of detrimental. Maybe if for Lucas, just because Lee has the capability to take the first 2 prizes in that case. But I think it's just too good. I think you do want to establish your Goldengos right here, right now.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So already has the Technical Machine Evolution, is actually going to grab Pokegear 3.0, maybe looking towards finding something like Boss's Orders next turn to just, take 2 prizes and not have to worry about that. And interestingly enough, not going to put any other Pokemon into play, essentially maybe trying to force the, 7 prize agenda in this spot, right? You knock out the 1 prize Goldengo, or excuse me, Gimme Ghoul in the active spot, and you have to get through 3 Goldengo. That could be, a nice way Lucas can swing the prize trade and essentially force Lee to be on the back foot.
Yes, and again, Lee doesn't play anything like an Iron Bundle, for example, to force maybe a 2-prizer up. And we did see the A-Spec go down. And with no energy on board, you have to guess that Professor Sada has to be the supporter, the ideal supporter for the trend anyway. But first, let's play some Pokemon Go. And we got 2 items. We did lose a penny, but I'm sure Lee does play something like the Palpad. Getting the Earthen Vessel, definitely great, because I don't see any energy in the hand. I don't see that much in the hand, to be honest. Well, specifically no Sada.
Yeah, no Sada yet. Not really needed at this point. Lee's just thinking about what card he wants to get rid of with this Earthen Vessel. Both decks do play that Pokestop Stadium, so, it kind of is just never really going to matter if you have those extra copies as long as Lost Vacuum doesn't come down to play. Lee understands that. We'll go ahead and grab the 2 Dark Energy. So with an attachment to the active, that will, of course, threaten the knockout. But I guess if you're Lee in your shoes, you got to be thinking, what does Lucas want to do on the following turn? And, how realistic would it be for something like Make It Rain, knock out a 2-prizer to happen with Lucas only just having 4 cards in hand?
No, yeah, it's 4 cards right now. But of course, we have to keep in mind these Pokemon translate to cards in hand. One of them will draw 2, the other one will draw 1. So that's technically like a free a free hop. Oh, who's the draw 3 supporter right now? Nemona, a free Nemona.
Sure, yeah.
Without using a supporter, plus the Pokegear that we know that is in the hand. That will grab a supporter, possibly the boss's orders, and then it's just a simple couple of energies to knock out something like the Pheasantipity, but ideally it would be a knockout on the Roaring Moon to be able to take the first 2 prizes.
Can we get Lee a little bit of a smaller piece of paper? We have an entire blank piece of paper as our notepad. Did he not bring a notepad? Come on, Lee, I expect a little bit more of you.
Especially with the new notepad technology we have access to these days.
Like, surely if you get to top 4, someone has a notepad for you to use, right? I mean, look, it could be a style. You know, I may not be a fan, but look, he could revolutionize it here with a regional win, you know. He could be a trendsetter.
I'm actually afraid it flies away and Lucas Xing just gets to see all of Lee's prizes.
That's some plot armor right there. Nah, I think Lee's got some main character energy. That never happens to main characters. We'll see the concealed cards, Radiant Greninja, hitting the bench, drawing into a few cards. Looks like nothing too relevant as Lee continues to use these Earthen Vessel, the Ultra Ball, put these Dark Energy in the discard pile where they can easily be accelerated onto the various Ancient and Dark Pokemon in the deck.
Oh, definitely. Radiant Greninja there, great to have, being able to just refill the hand even a little bit and get those key Dark Energies into the discard pile. There is an Iono right now in the hand, but I'm sure now is probably not the most opportune moment to use it. It is the only Disruption supporter between both these players. If I remember right, Lucas Xing actually does not play the Roxanne. Oh, no, he does. There is a Roxanne, so there is Iono on Lee's side and Roxanne for Lucas.
So investing a pretty important resource here. We're going to see Luminion V get benched, Luminous Sign used to find Professor Sada, and you know this really signals to me Lee values taking the first 2 prize cards, probably as he rightfully should. But as of right now, you know, it's still going to be a little bit of a task. This Roaring Moon in the active needs to move to the bench. The Roaring Moon EX needs 3 energy on it. But now there's a lot of those Darkness energy in the discard pile. The big thing, however, for Lee, he did use Squawk and Seize on that first turn to discard the Prime Catcher. And with that being the case, you know, how realistic is it for him off of these 3 cards to find all he needs? Does have the Pokemon Catcher. So, you know, if there's some other cards in combination, we get a little bit closer. But I'm not quite sure that's the case here.
He likes flipping cards, but there's no Dark Patch, unfortunately. Almost came together here, just missing one more key energy acceleration, as it is just going to be Vengeance. Fletchling take a knockout there as Lee take the first prize card, but the first prize card, that doesn't necessarily matter. Lucas Xing, though, gets the Energy Search Pro right off the bat.
Yeah, excellent. Decided to actually not play that card the previous turn, and for a good reason. You know, Lee was holding on to an Iono. I think if the Energy Search Pro fills the hand up with, you see how many energy are being grabbed here, it's an easier choice for Lee. But Lucas, you know, patiently holding on to the card, trying to, you know, wait to use that resource until all those energies are needed to knock out something like the Roaring Moon. And while Lee has struck first here, you know, Lucas is well prepared with what he grabbed off of Arven. Let's not forget that Pokegear is currently in the hand to try and just use boss's orders and then fill the bench up with Pokemon that are not going to be knocked out by the Roaring Moon non-EX. If he can do that for this turn specifically, then he puts himself in a spot where if Lee is forced to just use another 2-prizer to attack, Lucas will have a very clear path to map out these prizes and win game number 1.
Yeah, and Lucas is going to be looking at, 2 cards from the active, 1 card from the bench, plus the 7 cards from the Pokegear. Oh, plus the Pokestop as well.
Oh, it discards the boss, though. A little bit of a risk with Pokestop when you use that sequencing. You know, if he had used the coin bonus or Pokegear first, would have drawn him to the boss. Now with only 1 remaining in the deck, he's got to, you know, get a little bit lucky here, kind of dig deep into the pockets, see what he can find. We'll see both coin bonuses be used. Hand is filled up, does now have the Buddy Poffin, but again, I really have to wonder if you're Lucas, is benching Gimmighoul in this spot really what you need in order to keep up with an aggressive deck like Roaring Moon?
It might be the case if we're just taking the first, taking a knockout on the active Roaring Moon in any case. But if, again, it's just the first person to get 2 prizes, if we don't boss his orders right here, right now, things definitely get ugly as Buddy Poffin is going to be played. I think I saw an Ultra Ball in hand too, so maybe you can grab something like the Radiant Greninja to try and, just thin out the deck a little bit more. Yeah, Ultra Ball discarding an energy plus the Cypher Maniac's code breaking, you know, not the supporter we want to play right now. Oh, wait, never mind. Instead of 2 cards, how about 3?
Yeah, so Pheasantipity will, of course, use that Flip the Script ability since a Pokemon was knocked out on the previous turn. So Lucas will get to draw 3 cards from the deck, has pretty much used all the other abilities besides, you know, concealed cards if he can find that. But things are not looking too good here for Lucas. You did discard that boss's orders. Gotta find the other one here, either off the Pokegear or, maybe another draw from concealed cards. And here we go. This is a big Pokegear. If Lucas can find boss, Tempo is his top 7 cards, 1 remaining in the deck. Lucas, do you have it here? Let's see. I see a Cypher Maniac. Finds Roxanne, but there's no boss's orders. And now Lucas is going to have to think through how he wants to play the rest of this turn. Now that, at the most, he can only just take this 1 prize knockout, and kind of got to wonder, is it even worth it at that point?
Yeah, I don't blame him for using the Pokestop very early on. In theory, that's the more ideal thing, right? You thin your deck out of 3 cards, and what are the chances you hit the boss's orders out of the first 3? It's actually extremely low. Then you thin out the deck, and suddenly every single draw after that, plus your Pokegear, has increased odds. It just so happens it was in the top 3, and now we're kind of missing it. There's one more gold. Oh no, that Gimme Gold was just benched this turn. No way here for the Gust.
So what do you do in this spot? Do you just not take a knockout to not, proc the Pheasantipity EX's flip the script ability on Lee's side? Do you knock it out with something else? Do you retreat into another Pokemon and try and force your opponent to, use Frenzied Gouging to take a knockout? It doesn't really seem great either way. The thing to, again, note that can be relevant, potentially down the line is, there is that Goldengo that does have an attack as a non-EX. When it evolves, it can deal a little bit more damage to knock out something like the Roaring Moon. However, with Lee being on odd prizes, it doesn't necessarily matter if Lucas is not taking the first 2, if that's the play.
No, that's for sure. That's for sure. Again, right now, energy on that Goldengo. So then we are going to take the knockout here. Unfortunately, I was thinking if the baby Goldengo could take a knockout on the baby Roaring Moon, but the baby Goldengo actually lacks damage. It does 120 once it evolves. Roaring Moon is such a big, has high HP for a baby or a basic Pokemon, non-rule box, right? 140 on a basic is absolutely huge, as Greninja is the promotion here.
Yeah, and now if you're in Lee, you're in an excellent spot at this point, right? You can go down to 3 prize cards before your opponent's taken 2, and now it's just, put whatever liabilities you want in play. It really doesn't matter. Just power up 2 of the Roaring Moon, make everything happen. See the flip the script ability. Professor Sada already in the hand, and what a 3 cards there. Finds the Earthen Vessel. That can get one of the remaining Dark Energy out of the deck, and Dark Patch means as long as there's something like the Pecharunt EX, we know the Latias is in the prize cards, that means this Roaring Moon can come in and take a knockout with Frenzied Gouging on Goldengo.
No, that's for sure. Dark Patch, absolutely great card to grab here. Can even attach the active to retreat, since we can Dark Patch this turn, but would have loved to see maybe the Latias to be able to free retreat, or the Pecharunt just to save that energy. But the bench is looking kind of filled with support Pokemon at this point. Luckily, I believe the Pecharunt EX does have a meaningful attack that gets stronger the more prizes the opponent takes. So that's still a little bit more ideal than something like Latias potentially.
Looks like we're just going to actually see this Earthen Vessel fail, so not grabbing any Dark Energy out of the deck. And there's the Nest Ball, so this will be really interesting. We could even just see the other Roaring Moon get grabbed, and then go ahead and commit your energy for turn onto the Greninja. It gets slightly more value at this point. So that is a consideration to think about. At this point, though, Lucas taking an actually 1 prize could be relevant down the line. While Pecharunt EX does have that subjugating chains ability, let's not forget Irritated Outburst is a very good attack if your opponent's at 1 prize card specifically. It just deals 300 damage for 2 energy, and that is enough to take a knockout on Goldengo. And in fact, you only need 1 Dark Patch and an attachment to power it up, which is very doable.
Not too bad there, but right now, Lone Roaring Moon. There is one in hand, so we could see some backup, especially since Lee should be, after taking this knockout, will be in range into something like the Roxanne, and going down to 2 cards with not having anything ready could be tough.
We'll see the Super Rod get played potentially preemptively just to put some of these energy cards into the deck. That way, if you do get Iona'd into an energy card, you've got the attachment there. You can use concealed cards to draw a little bit more. But look at this bench here for Lee. You've got essentially 5 support Pokemon on the bench. It's just cards that either draw you cards, found you cards that can't do anything anymore, or that let you pivot in and out. And this Iono will, let Lee see a couple more cards before he ends the turn, and also put that large hand that Lucas built up with, all those energy cards, the coin bonuses from the previous turn on the bottom of the deck. numbers from this point, however, are not going to be hard for Lucas, which is usually what this deck is focused on trying to hit.
No, yeah, and I think the important part there was I believe the Rock Sand was in Lucas's hand. I think that was the grab off the Pokegear earlier, so now it's in the bottom of the deck. So Lee is just saying, you know what, I'll disrupt you to 5 just so that you don't disrupt me to 2. As Frenzy gouging here, putting 200 damage onto the Roaring Moon plus the poison, leaving it down to 20 HP. 20 HP is very, very easy to reach. Just 1 energy discard from the Goldengo, or even maybe attacking with the baby Goldengo at this point. But at this point, maybe we should just force Lee to use the big attacks, as Pokestop here actually grabs the Buddy Buddy, but I'm sure that's just immediately played.
Yeah, it seems a little bit irrelevant, right? You play the Buddy Buddy Puff and find nothing, but it really does have a lot of value here because it allows Lucas to shuffle the deck, right? Knows that Roxanne is on the bottom. Now that deck gets randomized, it gets, unordered from that card he wants to being on the bottom. And, he can now use the Pheasantipity, flip the script, the coin bonuses to draw cards and give himself a better chance to find that supporter. So it seems a little bit inconsequential. Does really provide a lot of value for him here.
Yeah, definitely 5 cards potentially to be drawn here. Pheasantipity has been used. Don't quite see the Roxanne just yet. Has energy to be able to attack at the very least.
Coin bonus. We got the Hisuian Heavy Ball now. There is the Monkey Dory in the prizes. Not quite sure, if it's worth putting that Pokemon into play, as, the ability of using the Adrenabrain is just not super helpful. And Lee's really going to do his best to just not leave damage in play from this point on. He's got 2 attacks to win, and he's hoping both attacks are just knocking Pokemon out. So we'll see the Heavy Ball actually just go ahead and fail. It's not going to grab anything, leaving the Monkey Dory in the prizes, saying, I just don't want this card.
Definitely. I mean, if only there was a way that Goldengo could hit itself so that they can move the 30 damage and take a knockout that way on the Roaring Moon. But unfortunately, this isn't Gardevoir, as Night Stretcher is going to be played. Getting a second Goldengo. Those are, again, great Pokemon to have. More draw, just always better. As another Pokegear, you have to guess, it has to find a Roxanne at this point.
See what these 7 cards are. Does find the boss. Last card, Roxanne. Some 7th card magic there for Lucas. So, okay, he'll be able to go ahead and play this Roxanne. Now, all these abilities have been used, so it's not 100% guaranteed here for Lucas, right? We'll still need to discard a single energy and doesn't have any way to draw more cards. So that is only the last step here for Lucas, but everything else has been checked off at this point, right? We only have 2 prize Pokemon in play. They all have, a decent amount of HP besides the Pheasantipity, which is going to be a little bit easier to knock out. And then we just need the energy card to attack. And we've got to cross our fingers, that during these next couple of turns, Lee kind of struggles to get his footing and is really just missing those last pieces he needs to power up attack.
Yeah, 2 cards. I believe that was an Ultra Ball and a Nest Ball, so a great way to at least find the Roaring Moon. Is there energy? There's 1 Psychic Energy.
And finds the Palpad as well. Great find there. Can bring back the Roxanne and potentially something like the Boss's Orders that already hit the discard pile, or a Consistency Supporter. Multiple options here for Lucas. Has now just got to decide which card he values more. Is he going to be playing more than 1 Boss's Orders? Probably not, but having multiple in the deck, it's going to be a good piece to have, especially later in the game.
I know, especially as how hard he really tried to find that first one. Yeah, let's make it a little bit easier to get this next time, as, it's going to be those 2 cards. But imagine back-to-back Roxanne and trying to reestablish another Pokemon. This may be the time to power up a Petron at the very least if we can get a Roaring Moon into play. So Lee is going to need a couple of cards this next turn. He's going to need another Roaring Moon EX, a Sada, a Dark Patch, and an Energy Attachment for turn. That's 4 cards.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see, how many Dark Patch are left in the deck. So looking through right now, there are 3 Dark Patch in the deck. So only 1 Dark Patch has been played, and that's a big crucial piece because, again, using the Dark Patch on Pecharunt to take that last knockout is probably going to be a little bit easier, and it gives you flexibility as well to play, that one-of copy of a card like Professor's Research instead of only drawing 3 cards from something like Professor Sada's Vitality.
Definitely. Again, a lot of cards are going to be seen here. Luckily, Pokestop plus the Pheasantipity and maybe even the Radiant Greninja. So this Roxanne to 2 may not hurt as much, but again, hardest things to find are always that supporter cards, as Pokestop
does find Pokegear. Do get rid of that Roaring Moon, and that is a really interesting piece to think about. Roaring Moon being gone means that he may actually just be fully tunneled into using Pecharunt EX. Here is the Flip the Script ability. Does find Dark Patch, has the Pokegear, and this is going to be big. Do we see Professor Sada? We do see it. Sada off the 7 cards, means that Lee can use that supporter, get an extra energy in play, and with the Dark Patch, just needs a single attachment from hand to fire off another Frenzy Gouging attack.
Yes, I believe there was an energy in hand. I'm not sure if it was discarded already from the Radiant Greninja. But again, 3 more cards. I'm sure Lee would like to see something like another Dark Patch, maybe just get the Petron up and ready. So he should fully expect a second Roxanne, that's for sure. Because almost everything has been used. Yeah, there's a Dark Energy in hand. This Roaring Moon, it should be ready to go this turn.
So here we go. Only one Ancient Pokemon in play, getting accelerated, and does find the Dark Energy. Already had one, but that's a good piece to have in this situation. We'll be interested to see if Lee decides to, get rid of that with concealed cards or save that around, because your hand's probably going to get disrupted again from Roxanne.
Yeah, and the nice thing about Roxanne is it doesn't shuffle to the bottom, so you do have a chance to potentially still see those Dark Energies. We'll have to see. Maybe 2 cards now could still be good. Find that Dark Patch a little bit earlier. No, there it is, just Frenzied Gouging. 210 damage on that Roaring Moon. He goes down to 1. He is 1 attack away from winning this game.
And now if you're in Lucas's position, I feel like you always have to prioritize, using the hand disruption as your supporter for a turn. But I would like to see him, just look through Lee's resources. See, what recovery cards he's down. The big missing piece right now, Lucas doesn't know that Night Stretcher is prized. But assuming that Night Stretcher is not prized, you've got to assume your opponent's playing at least one of those and has a way to, get that Pokemon back. So this is the big thing here for Lucas, is probably going to just try and see if he can find a way to, hand disrupt. Does find 2 of those superior energy retrievals. So, getting a knockout at this point, not going to be too relevant, but looks like he's still just digging for another piece here. Got to imagine either that boss or the Roxanne. Does find the Roxanne. There it is. But at this point now, just has a couple of abilities left in order to find this knockout. I gotta wonder, how he wants to develop the rest of his board and prepare to, if he's, gets another turn to win this game, how he's gonna close things out.
I like using the energy retrieval now before the Roxanne. Ooh, only still just grabbing 1 energy though. I like maybe grabbing a little bit more. Since we are gonna Roxanne, we just need to find 1. Makes it a little bit easier that way. But interestingly enough, yeah, just 1 energy there. Don't need too much. Are we not using the Roxanne at this point? Ooh, grabbing the Spiritomb, maybe blocking.
Oh, look at this play here from Lucas. He's going to try and use the Fade Out to just guarantee the attack this turn, and it's also going to put the Metal Energy back in the hand here. A little bit of a cute play from Lucas. And the important thing as well, with the Fade Out attack, right? Talk to me, something is not working.
No Pheasantipity. That's a knockout using poison. That is not a knockout from your opponent's attack. That's big. That's 3 cards that Lee is not going to see. Hats off to Lucas Xing seeing this play. I don't know if Goldengo's known for their disruption capability, but Lucas definitely is highlighting it here.
Yeah, a card that this list didn't play back in EUIC has included it here for this tournament, and so far it could give Lucas a key back into this game to take game 1 out of nowhere after, having a pretty poor start, not finding that 2-prize knockout in response. We'll go ahead and use this here, and finds the Lost Vacuum as well. We talked about Pokestop being the only stadium, but now it's going to be gone potentially for the rest of the game using Fade Out. Pokemon is knocked out during Pokemon Checkup, so Flip the Script not working. And here we go now. Lee's got 3 cards to work with, and he just has an energy. Does find the Palpat as well. Now, an interesting thing to note here, right? Petron EX can take the knockout, and this is going to be really important for Lee. I think he's just got to understand that, putting Sada back into the deck is just not necessarily what you need to do here. You just need to find an energy card and a Dark Patch, and you win the game here. You can use that attack and close things out.
Yeah, unfortunate thing here, though, I was reading Petron's ability. You can't switch itself to the active, so we also need to find a way to retreat. So that might be a little bit tough, since we'd have to dedicate an attachment to the active or potentially find the Latias EX.
Yeah.
A little bit of an awkward spot there.
Yeah, the Latias was taken off the prize card, so that is a total option now at this point. 2 cards, finds the Ultra Ball. There's the... Okay, are we going for this kind of play? Here we go. Draw 3 cards. Finds the stadium and the Pokemon catcher. Don't do this to me, Lee. Step number 1, though, for him. He's got to find himself
an energy.
Yeah, but at this point, he can't even switch out there. There's the Dark Patch. But the problem here, though, is, again, if Petron cannot switch itself into the active spot, all Lee would really need here is he just needs an attachment. I have to wonder, what's the next step? This bench is completely full. He can use Pokemon Catcher to potentially bring a Pokemon up on the bench. I feel like that's got to be the next best option in this spot.
Ooh, Pokemon Catcher just to disrupt. Look at Lucas Xing's hand. I don't think that's going to work.
Playing it, flips heads, brings up Pheasantipity, and it's just going to pass the turn over. I think Lucas, with this fade out, has provided, enough utility disruption. Pheasantipity being turned off. Are there enough energies in the discard pile? And it looks like there are plenty here. And I think already has the Professor Turo. If that card is in hand, I think it's
I did see it.
there.
I did see it in hand. I was thinking about that too. There's no energy in play, no way to retreat and attach just yet, but it has to be the Professor Turo. Is there enough energy?
Oh, you bet there is, Wancho. We've got the attachment for turn and the superior energy retrieval, plus those 2 energy found off Earthen Vessel. Lucas Xing coming in with some matchup-specific tech. That poison damage from the Petron, not having access to Latias EX, means Lucas closes out game number 1 in an excellent fashion.
I'm questioning my bingo book at this point, Ethan. A fade-out knockout on a Roaring Moon EX. Definitely the first time I've ever seen that. And oh boy, what a play, denying the Pheasantipity EX. And again, it's what I was thinking about earlier. If maybe Lee tried to dig a little bit more, there was so much energy in hand. If he found like a singular dark patch just to use a little bit earlier, that Petron would have been absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, let's look back at that game. And the big thing here for Lee, right, he started out exactly how he wanted to. Knows really this early game well and understands this deck well. He knew to use the Roaring Moon early, you take the prize trade, your opponent evens things up, but this was the big swing point. You'd go to 4 prizes before your opponent did. He takes the knockout here with that Roaring Moon, and from here, it traded back and forth a little bit during this game. Frenzied Gouging, make it rain. Frenzied Gouging, but it wasn't a make it rain in response. This is the big play you highlighted, Spiritomb's Fade Out coming in clutch.
Yeah, again, it just it really shows. I think it separates the good players from the great. Is being able to identify everything you have in the deck and maybe not going through your flowchart. Maybe not thinking, yeah, I have this option. This is a hyper-specific scenario, but it's the most correct play. And Lucas Xing finds it and steals this win from Lee. He was poised to just take this game. He was the first to take the knockout. Yes, he was the first to technically get to take the first 2 prizes technically. But boy, Lucas found the way and is now 1 game ahead from Lee, but I'm not counting him out.
Not counting him out for sure. Of course, this is a best-of-3 series, so the first player to win 2 games out of 3 will be advancing to the finals at our regional championships in Vancouver. Lee will be most likely going second. We'll go ahead and just get confirmation. We'll be starting things as the second player to begin action. So Lucas going first, he's going to be under a little bit more pressure, and he's not going to, be able to set up his board as well as he'd like to without the help of a supporter card.
Looks like Lee opening up another one of the basic ancient Pokemon, but this time it's the Koraidon. Unrelenting Onslaught. Only does 30 damage, so it's not the most ideal starter here. It's not taking any knockout unless it's like a Badoo in the active.
A great start here for Lucas, especially going first. Buddy Poffin, and already has down double Gimme Ghoul in play. Nothing too relevant in the prize cards. There are a couple of those one-of energy types that you play just to get that extra boost off of the Energy Search Pro. And the 1 Gimme Ghoul can be a little bit annoying, especially later in the game. Every coin bonus, every card you draw can be the difference maker between, hitting those numbers, finding those pieces. So with that being gone, though, looks pretty reasonable. I think he's going to be okay playing the second game out.
It's not too bad, but I got to peek at Lee's prizes, however, and that one's not as great. Just the Squawkabilly EX. That's always a card you want to have access to in case you need those fresh six cards. That's for sure. But let's see how Lee can put things together. Again, gonna have to want to take the first prize here, right? Especially attack with a single prizer. Lucas Xing dropping the Spiritomb because it did win the last game. Why not? But right now, we're not using it for the fade out. It's here for the Fettered in Misfortune. Maybe slow down the other support Pokemon in the Leminion V. So now Lee does not have access to both Leminion V and the Squawkabilly EX on this first turn.
Great setup so far for Lucas. Had an extra Poffin to spare. Didn't even need to, grab any more 70 HP Pokemon. There's, nothing else to grab in this deck. We'll use that as fodder for this Earthen Vessel, grabbing Metal Energy out of the deck. And this is, an interesting position going first for Lucas. If you want to, you can commit an energy onto one of these Pokemon on the board. The question, Wancho, though, is do you expect your active to be knocked down, attached to the bench? If it's not, then does that energy get stuck? Those are a few questions I'm sure Lucas is just kind of thinking through in this spot.
Wouldn't blame him just to hold on. It's not like we need to rush the energy attachment. We're not like looking for an extra energy on like a Monkey Dory, for example. And worst case is what? The energies get Ionoed, and you're most likely to find something anyway. And if your opponent's Ionoing, they're probably not attacking then. As Trekking Shoes is being played, a lot of cards in hand, but no draw supporters and no draw supporters and no means to get any draw. Maybe just Radiant Greninja potentially.
So this hand would be fine, 9 out of 10 games, but with the Spiritomb being down and with Squawkabilly EX in the prize card, there's really no way to, gain card advantage from a card like Ultra Ball. Usually, you're going to find a Research or a Sada and draw 6 or, 3 or 7 cards. You're going to play Squawkabilly and get a fresh hand of 6. But with Lee not having any of those pieces and no other supporters, he's going to have a really tough time navigating this turn. It may even result in him not being able to attack going second, which is what this deck is built to do.
Yeah, and especially too with the active Pokemon not being the most ideal, that means we're going to need to find a little bit more. Not only do we need to find those the Sada to energy accelerate, we need to find a Pokemon, we need to find a way to retreat from the active, which is both Latias, either Latias or the Petron, which is even more Pokemon, which is just more cards we need. We need to see more cards. And all Lee has access to is what? Maybe Radiant Greninja at this point? That's 2. I named way more than 2 there.
Yeah, the Radiant Greninja is an option that may, be the only thing that Lee can possibly put together at this point. You do lose the way to search out another Pokemon from the hand, but is, getting a Roaring Moon down and attaching a Dark Energy really going to cut it in this spot? I'm not really sure it is. You would technically get access to that Flip the Script ability on the following turn. So I'm interested to see what Lee decides to do. Is actually just going to shuffle the deck up, so maybe indicating, holding on to a piece like that. We're just kind of thinking through, how these cards in the hand shape up and how we can go about playing this turn to optimize his draws and optimize his game plan.
Yeah, at this point, maybe I'm thinking Lee should just give up on attacking this turn, right? It's not the end of the world if we don't take this singular prize. I mean, yes, it might have mattered earlier on, but maybe we forced Lucas Xing to evolve into the Goldengo first, and then technically then we take the first 2 prizes. However, we have seen Lucas Xing has a capability to attack with a single prize Pokemon in both the Spiritomb and the Goldengo, so that may definitely be a hindrance to Lee. But again, with how the hand looks, I'd like maybe just saying just Ultra Ball for Greninja and that's it, right? 2 single prize Pokemon.
I mean, Lee's got to leave himself with resources to work with here. Getting rid of a Dark Energy, yeah, it's great, but I mean, let's look at these prizes again. I mean, there are 3 Dark Energy in the prize cards, and Lee only plays 8 Dark Energy. So if we get rid of 3 Dark here, and then we concealed cards, we're leaving ourselves with just 1 Dark Energy in the entire deck.
Wait.
And we usually need to capitalize off these attachments early. We'll see what he decides to grab at this point, but with no Squawkabilly and with Lumineon being shut off, he's going to just looks like go all in on this baby Roaring Moon. I mean, let's not forget, there is the Petron on the hand. There's an energy and a Dark Patch. Are we going to go to 0 cards, Lee? Are we going to discard it all, play it all down?
I mean, what's the best thing we could draw? Looking at the prizes, there's 2 Nest Balls, could find Serendipity, 3 Dark Energy. That's not going to help out if you go to a 0 card hand, and I think the worst thing would be grabbing that Squawkabilly, as we are. Lee is dropping the Petulant and taking the first knockout.
Yeah, he's taking the first knockout, but he's leaving himself with just the boss's orders in the hand, and he's going to have no other Pokemon in play. He's actually going to go down to a 0-card hand, knock out the Spiritomb, and he knows that half of his prize cards are going to do nothing for him. Actually, 4 of his prize cards here do absolutely nothing. The Squawkabilly does nothing, and the Darkness Energy, unless he top decks another card, do absolutely nothing, and Lucas starts things off immediately with an Arven. As long as he has either the Energy Surge Pro or a Goldengo in his hand, he can essentially pop off, set up his board, and be in an excellent spot.
Definitely, and again, the active Roaring Moon doesn't take that much energy to knock out, just takes 3. Already see 2 in the hand at the very least. Looks like Ultra Ball was the grab from the Arven, so just looking for the Goldengo. Shouldn't be too hard to take the knockout, but I guess the Goldengo has to draw 2 energy.
Yeah, that's...
No, there's 3 energy in hand. So the Goldengo just needs to draw 1.
Yeah, just needs to draw 1 energy, and I think Lucas understands with, how slow Lee's start is, you can't really take the time to use that technical machine evolution. You're going to fall behind 2 prizes. You're not going to have, the tempo time to get back into the game. Lee, could get bailed out by that extra card he draws off the top. His status quo is, or, his checklist of what he needs to do next turn is pretty low. So this is actually a very big coin bonus here. Let's see this for Lucas. Already has the 2 metal energy, the 3 rather. What does he draw into? It's a nest ball, so that could grab Pheasantipity. We're going to see 3 more cards. So still, though, looking for that last energy card. Doesn't matter what type it is, as long as it is a basic energy, those will be the 3 energy he needs to deal 150 damage. Let's lock in, Wancho. What does he find?
Yes. Again, 12 energy cards total. Do we find one? A grass energy. It had to be the last one, too. Oh, wait. We had the Stretcher. Oh, Stretcher just for the Spiritomb.
Yeah, there's no energy in the discard pile, so that Stretcher, finding the Spiritomb is relevant. Here we go. Lucas taking the knockout. Lee is left with just a single dark energy in hand and a hope and dream. Here we go, Lee. Lock in. Top deck. Oh, it's just the Earthen Vessel. He's going to play it just to thin these dark energy out of the deck, but I have a spoiler alert. There's only 1 left.
There's only 1 dark energy left. If there's one thing Lee did really well in this game is getting those dark energies into the discard pile. Things are looking very, very grim here for the Roaring Moon player. You don't want to miss out on a knockout. You don't want to miss out on an attack. But with only a singular dark energy, there's nothing Lee can do about it.
All right, here we go. Back to Lucas, and now the doors are wide open. Lucas, as the Goldengo player, getting to take the first 2 prizes, all but guaranteed, with that Cypher Maniac's code breaking to start the turn off. And you see immediately the 2 cards are found, finds the Goldengo and the Energy Search Pro to draw into those 2 cards, and then immediately play the Energy Search Pro to thin every energy card out of the deck.
Yeah, Things are looking really, really good for Lucas Xing. Again, thinning these 4 cards out of the deck, having more draw cards, having the Spiritomb in play, has the Pheasantipity as well. I'm trying to think of a way where things could go wrong, and I can't think of it. I fully expect to see Lucas here at the final shortly of the Vancouver Regional Championships.
3 more energies hitting the discard pile. 1 more chance. It's a Pokegear. 7 cards here, Lee. What can you find? It's just a Sada. Nothing else in the hand. It's just a dark energy in Sada. And Lucas Xing just needs to have a superior energy retrieval, and this series will be all over.
Yeah, Sada unfortunately cannot work. There is no ancient Pokemon in play. Unfortunately, the Petron in the active does not have that little tag. So this Sada unplayable. The Dark Energy is probably even better than that. Attach for turn.
And he has it, the superior energy retrieval. Lucas Xing gets ahead of himself. Top 4 last year, his run was cut short, and now he's going to the finals looking to become a 2-time regional champion.